Why is Kyle Shanahan constantly in the news cycle this offseason? Normally, I'm like the kind of guy who would be saying this is bad, but it's the deadest of the dead periods there's ever been. And every time he does something or throws a ball or breaks a rule, I'm like, yes, thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Kyle. What is this?
It's fun. It's nice seeing a different, nice seeing a different personality from him. He's taken the Sean McVay approach, and that's worked with Sean McVay for a couple of years. So
what's the Sean McVay approach?
Being personable and likable, and Kyle Shanahan's been doing that a lot this offseason, and it's been I like it.
Yeah, I feel you. Okay.
You know why he's constantly in the news cycle? Because this guy is so happy he has a new quarterback. That's why he's so happy. He's happy. He's like,
that's a good point.
Grant, how happy were you when you got your new car? You were juiced,
so
right?
Happy.
That's
happy.
Kyle Shanahan, bro. So
fair
that's
enough.
how when I got my car, I'm like, oh, let's go.
Yeah.
So it's like, you get a new job, working sports, whatever, new laptop, new toy. That's why he's in the news cycle. He's like, hey, I'm in a good mood. So you guys catch me. You catch me in a good mood. Because when you're in a good mood, you're going to be more willing to open up. And that's something they mentioned on his podcast with McVay and Schrager. They kept saying he was so vulnerable. I was like, yeah, he's just chopping up. He's like, yeah, I'm set now, bro. Like, what's good? You got Stafford? Cool. I wanted him, but I got my guy. Yeah. So that's why he's so happy. The more open, the more happy you are, the more willing you are to talk. Because notice like how even 2019, you can notice 2019 pressers, Kyle talked more. And last year, he didn't talk as much, in the pressers, in terms of transparency, at least. That's how I felt. That's how I felt the two difference in the last 2 years since I've been covering this team. But yeah, that's definitely, he's happy he's got a new toy to play with in his quarterback.
It's a good theory. I hadn't considered that at all. What do you think, Suneil?
I think, I think that plays a role. The only reason why I don't think it's only that is because he's never talking about the quarterbacks, right? So if when Grant got his car, the first thing he did when he got on camera was like, I just got a Kia Stinger. You know what I mean? So like, if it was all about Trey Lance being a part of the team, I think we would be hearing more about Trey Lance. The real reason why I think he is out in the open a lot more is I think something happened this offseason when they sat down with York and Lynch about making the trade. And I think there was some talks about just comfortability. I think Kyle Shanahan feels safe in his position. Yes. For the owner to be able to give him permission to make such a bold move. And then you saw all of this with him they're posting pictures of, him at dinner at Jed York's house. We saw how Jed York was tweeting during the draft and all this kind of stuff. I think that the 49ers know this is going to be the coaching staff and the front office for a while. And because of that comfort level, we're getting to see Kyle Shanahan be able to go out there without any fear that any of this is going to blow back and create drama for him in his position as coach. And so that's, for me, why I think we're seeing it so much. This looks like a guy in Kyle Shanahan that isn't afraid of losing his job, doesn't feel like he's on the hot seat in any certain way. And we're seeing him be able to, how many coaches have you seen, with a former
the pizza
player
oven on the first try? Yeah. I've never seen it.
Not only that, but just drinking and all this kind of stuff. True. You don't see coaches do that, right?
No.
You don't see coaches,
especially ones with a losing record. I'm just mentioning.
Sure, but I'm saying that to me even more shows just the confidence and the comfort level, because he's not getting all this blowback other than from Big J journalism up top about him, being able to do this, even though the team hasn't performed necessarily at the highest rate as other teams. So to me, it's more about comfort level. I think Jed York likes Shanahan, and I think he's looking at Shanahan being the coach for a long time. And I think Kyle knows that and is taking advantage now.
He only has a losing record because he's not the starting quarterback, Grant.
Yeah. And maybe now that he hit that pizza oven, things could change. Three-way competition. I heard, according to sources, three-way competition. Ben, why is he always in the news cycle?
Just going back to the car analogy really quick, I think part of the reason he's probably not bragging about his Kia Stingers because he's got 2 cars in the garage right now. I mean, you can't brag about one car when you have the other one sitting right there. So
true.
I think that's kind of part of the problem with that. And why?
He's never really even allowed to drive the Stinger yet. It's like, I have it. Let me put it on my Instagram. But no, I can't pick you up just yet. My mom said it's not ready.
Yeah, you can get those dope IG pics, but you can't quite get on the highway yet and just put it in
hell
the
no
throttle. Not yet.
This
not
driveway,
yet, right?
Yeah.
But I think part of the reason Kyle's been in the news cycle so much this offseason in particular is because I think there's never been higher expectations for Kyle Shanahan going into his season. If you look at the 49ers, sure, in 2020 there were a lot of expectations. There was the whole Revenge Tour 2.0 thing, right? Or Revenge Tour 1.0. It's 2.0 now. But the thing, even with that, is that the fans and the organization gave Kyle a pass because the team was so hurt. I mean, constantly you'll hear it from this fan base. They have a reason why last season went the way it did. But if the 49ers were to actually lose this season, 49ers fans would be running out of options quick in terms of what they could blame in terms of not blaming Kyle Shanahan. So I think the reason Kyle's gotten out there and has said so much is because, for one, I mean, they went and actually drafted his quote-unquote guy at quarterback, right? I just don't think there's ever been higher expectations short-term and long-term for Kyle Shanahan with his time at the 49ers.
Great answers, guys. I'm leaning a little towards Suneil on this one. I feel like he's acting like a man who won 2 Super Bowls, or at least one. And that is what Suneil's pointing to. Like, he's got ultimate job security right now. Break a rule? Who cares? Should I stay? Should I take this video of me a little maybe tipsy, throwing across the street with Joe Staley and then me cursing afterward? Yeah, do it. Who cares? Should I go on this podcast and talk very candidly for an hour and kind of undermine some narratives that our owner and general manager have put out there? Sure, who cares? To me, he's in a very good spot, and I'm with Suneil. I think he's probably figured out that this new quarterback gives him like a 3-year extension. He has the extension. He's now has like a 3-year window. He's cool. They're committed to him and Trey Lance together for the next 3 years. But if they lose this season, someone's head has to roll, metaphorically. And it ain't going to be him. I think it's probably going to be John Lynch. So from Kyle's perspective, he could either win this year and that's good, or if he loses this year, then they could get rid of John Lynch and maybe Kyle would get more power. That could be good too. He's acting like a man who's in a win-win situation, and he just might be. So something to keep in mind. He's acting like one way or another, I'm going to be in a great spot in 2022.
And I think if we think about what he's actually saying, right, it's like you said, all narrative, like changing types of things. So he came out a lot, after, they drafted Trey over Mac, and basically was like, why did the media think that I wouldn't go after somebody like this, right? Because they only think I would go after Mac, and he kind of stuck it to the media in that way. And then when he goes on the McVay with the podcast with McVay, he was really talking about that fourth quarter with Atlanta that people are just beating him up for, as far as him not being able to take that team over the hump in the fourth quarter. And he kind of was explaining his thought process to try to just like change that narrative. And it looks like somebody who always had that chip on his shoulder didn't really feel like he could say it because of how the press would affect him or how it might reflect upon the team. But now he doesn't have any of that fear, and he's going out here and just like going after everybody that's ever said anything about him.
Yep, I'm with it. It's very interesting. Also, he's kind of alienated some Big J journalists nationally with his little stuff he did. And so what did he do? He went on with Sean McVay. It's like, I don't need no Big J journalists. I'm with you, Kyle. Screw him. And come on my show next, because I've always been very fair to you. And I've always seen things from your perspective. So let's top it up.
I thought he's on with you tomorrow.
No, player tomorrow. Kyle will be next week.
I thought he's starting quarterback. I thought he's a player coach.